fourth episode opens with Jaclyn lying in bed. We are privy to a phone call made to her husband, who is still on set and is unable to talk to her. It seems that Lori and Kate's gossipy assumptions about the facade of Jaclyn's perfect relationship might bear some weight. But Jaclyn will never allow her friends to see that, and instead of carrying the melancholy with her during the day, she is determined to let her hair down and party. Jaclyn pioneers the decision to leave the wellness resort and find a beach club that is a lively change of pace, convincing her friends that they are also sick of doing yoga every day. They look to Valentine to recommend other destinations in the area, and he obliges. Ecstatic, they reach the beach club and settle into their respective loungers, drink in hand. While Jaclyn speaks to two other clubgoers whose husbands were dead, it slowly dawns on her that everyone else at the club is visibly old. Completely aghast, she hurries her friends out of there and back to the resort, where they bump into Valentine. This time, Jaclyn is determined to find a place where she can let loose and drags the unassuming Valentine into the cab with her friends. The new place he takes them to is yet to open in an hour. So while he gathers his own friends, he leaves them in the market street where the Songkran festival is running. As a part of the Thai New Year, the festival is known for its water gun fights, and the three friends innocently walk down the street. However, they attract the attention of a group of ruthless children who completely douse the three in water. They temporarily find shelter in a convenience store with no back exit, but the kids are menacingly standing outside, waiting for their soaked victims. The next time we see Jaclyn, Lori, and Kate, they are dried off and have reached the beach club, where they are introduced to Valentine's friends. After their strange misadventures in this episode, they have finally reached a place where they can feel young and hot again, even if Lori is the only single. Eyeing up their new companions, they have a resounding cheers that signals the start of their night. It is finally the day Rick has been waiting for. He is going to Bangkok. However, Chelsea doesn't let him off the hook just yet, conjuring up tears to convince him to go to the yacht party hosted by Chloe and Gary. As they start to make their way to the docks, Chelsea is distracted by the store attendant she experienced the robbery with and quickly leaves Rick to check up on her. During this brief departure, Rick bumps into Amrita, who insists on another meditation session together, claiming she was touched by Rick's story. When he tells her he is flying to Bangkok that night, she leaves him with a couple of optimistic words, reassuring him that she still believes there is hope for him to break free of his past. As expected, Rick sustains his grumpy demeanor on the boat, but this time, Chelsea reaches her breaking point and demands to know what is going on. Faced with an ultimatum, Rick uncharacteristically gives in and opens up, uncovering the first spilled secret of this White Lotus episode. When Rick's mother was on her deathbed, she revealed the name of the person who murdered his father, the resort owner, or Sritala's husband. Hearing about his stroke, Rick decided it was the perfect time to visit Thailand and track him down. Though he claims he simply wants to face him and force him to acknowledge how he impacted Rick's life, Chelsea is convinced of a "you killed my father, prepare to die" situation. Despite her insistence, Rick refuses to let Chelsea accompany him, and thus they part ways, with Chelsea continuing her night on the yacht at the full moon party, and Rick lashing out at other tourists at the local airport. The White Lotus's Ratliff storyline kicks off with a typical sibling argument that is disrupted by an accidental indecent exposure from the patriarch. Tim is still oozing stress, making his pill-popping habit noticeable enough for Victoria to accuse her kids of skimming her lorazepam. As they bicker, and Tim makes his involuntary interruption, the matter is dropped, and they leave for Chloe and Gary's yacht. On the boat, Victoria makes a point of hiding her bag, but little does she realize she needs to hide it from her husband, who later sneaks back and escalates to stealing the entire bottle. Mixing the medication with alcohol, Tim is unable to exude his usual Southern charm, being short with the other partygoers and becoming emotional when Piper thanks him for the trip. Throughout all this, Victoria is as elegantly judgmental as ever, keeping her compliments backhanded and her disapproving eyes behind her sunglasses. while only betraying her true thoughts of everyone being criminals, killers, and gold diggers to her family. As per usual, Jaclyn is torn between his two siblings, with Saxon convinced Piper is going to turn Jaclyn into a social outcast, and Piper worried Jaclyn will become a walking dildo like Saxon. While we suspect where Jaclyn's loyalties instinctively lie, Piper is about to get a rude awakening, but not before she drops a secret of her own. She asks Jaclyn for morale support during dinner because she is going to reveal the truth about why she wanted to come to Thailand. Piper wasn't planning to interview a monk for her thesis. She wanted to spend a year at the meditation center. Before Jaclyn can properly react, Saxon tears him away to continue his brainwashing routine on his younger brother as they flirt with the younger women in front of their older boyfriends. When the daytime party is over, Jaclyn decides to stay on the boat with Saxon for the full moon party, abandoning Piper to face dinner with her parents alone. After recognizing Greg in the White Lotus Season 3, Episode 3, Belinda is unable to get him off her mind, even when she is excited about her son coming to the resort the next day. She decides to do a quick Google search for Tanya and learns of her death and the mysterious circumstances around it. Further research reveals that Greg is wanted for questioning in Sicily, but he isn't returning any calls from the police. On the yacht, Greg is generally isolated from the party and only returns to the guests after Chloe begs him for the boat for the late-night celebrations, while he has to go back home to sort something elusive out. After this awkward scene that exposes the cracks in their relationship, Greg has an enigmatic conversation with Tim about people moving to Thailand because they are either looking for something or running away from something. Meanwhile, Gaitak's meeting with Fabian, which was set up in the previous episode, turns into subtle comments of disapproval about endangering the hotel and a command to increase security. As such, a gun is introduced to the show. Later on, when Gaitak goes to inspect the gun, Mook surprises him, and they go on a walk to talk about their first date, leaving it unattended in the security hut. While they are gone, incidentally, Tim walks up the driveway while taking a stressful phone call. He had retrieved his phone from the staff member's safe and found out that the FBI had already raided his offices. It was likely that Tim would go to jail and that his assets would be frozen. Distressed, he proclaims that he would rather die than go to prison, and ultimately returns his phone to the staff so he can return to dinner, where his wife ironically declares him a Boy Scout. When Gaitak returns to the security hut, the gun is missing.